LoreWarrior Aerotech, Bashkir Omni Fighter. Overview. The Bashkir is the lightest and fastest Omni Fighter in service with the clans. Its small size severely limits its armor protection, payload and endurance, but like its close kin the Vandal, the Bashkir's high speed makes it ideal for reconnaissance missions and swift strikes against unprepared targets. Capabilities. Swift and super maneuverable, the Bashkir has a limited fuel supply that restricts its endurance in low atmosphere, making encounters with it more likely in upper atmospheres or in space, where the fighter can coast. Though the method of construction enables the fighter to make successful high-G maneuvers, one or two well-placed shots can render it helpless, or even destroy it. The primary configuration, seen most frequently with the Steel Viper clan, focuses on short-range weapons and is best suited to close-in dogfighting. This model is commonly assigned to a first response space superiority role, performing similarly to the Inner Sphere's Sparrowhawk. The A configuration reverses the missile energy weapon mix of the base configuration, marginally reducing damage output and gaining the ability to scour its enemies, increasing the chance of a lucky strike. The B variant of the Bashkir trades power for reach, its dual underwing missile packs granting it the longest range of any model. The variants, though, with the greatest endurance, and thus the more popular option, are the C and D configurations, both of which only employ energy weapons. The D configuration has the edge in damage inflicted, but the C has greater reach. Both place considerable strain on its heat management systems, but neither will overtax them either. Deployment. Originally developed by Clan Snowraven, small numbers of these fighters appear with all the clans. The Smoke Jaguars had the largest single contingent among all of the invaders, and the victorious Star League forces took a number of their craft as Isola. Most were subsequently employed by the Nova Cats, but some serve with the DCMS, AFFS, and LAAF. Notable pilots: Bashkir 971/J22 Abtaka. Some clans, most notably the Goliath Scorpions, track the performance history of mechs and fighters, in addition to maintaining warrior codices. Though few clan warriors believe specific machines have honour or glory per se, a select few vehicles have come to be revered above any warrior that might pilot them. One such craft is Bashkir 971/J22, first launched from the Snowraven yards in 3036 and traded to the Goliath Scorpions a year later, serving in a series of trials on Dagda and Marshall. During one such trial in 3045, the fighter was taken as Isola by the Steel Vipers and pressed into service with that clan's Tauman, forming part of the task force sent to the Inner Sphere. There it would participate in several key battles, including Tukiad and the war against the Falcons after the Great Refusal. The Vipers' return to the clan homeworlds brought the 971/J22 back to its origin world of Lum, where the Ravens recaptured it almost 30 years after it was built. Bondsman Simon. Of all the house militaries, the DCMS fields the largest proportion of captured clan equipment, Omni fighters as well as battle armor and mechs, and the Bashkir, piloted by Tai Simon Pierre, is a classic example. Pierre's skill brought him to the attention of the Admiralty and resulted in his being assigned the valuable clan salvage. He performed well in Operation Bulldog and the more recent conflict with the Ghost Bears. The advanced technologies of his fighter have allowed him to compete against his clan opponents on a level playing field and demonstrate his skill. His success drove the Bears to greater lengths, however, and the clansmen eventually captured the Tai and his machine, and in recognition of his valour, Simon Pierre received the honour of the Bond Cord. So the Bashkir. Its mass, 20 tons, its frame is a Mark 7, its power plant is a 220 XL Fusion, armour is Lum Steelforge 9, ferro aluminium. It has 4.5 ton of pod space, and its manufacturer is Crest Foundries, primary factory on Lum. Its communication system is the Raven Eye 6, with targeting and tracking provided by the Hawk Pattern 7. Yes, its primary weapons loadout is a pair of ER mediums with a single Streak 2 and an ER small laser. The lasers are in the right and left wing, while the missile and the ER small are in the nose. Alternate configuration A is an SRM-6 in the nose, the medium pulse laser in the nose, while alternate B is an ER small in the nose, 2 LRM-5s, one in each wing, and while C, these are the ones that are apparently the more commonly used, has an ER large in the nose and an ER small in the nose, and the Delta version is a heavy large and a heavy small. So, yeah, I mean, for a 20-ton craft, it's not bad. It's not a bad option. They're fairly basic-looking fighters, but you know what? They do the job. Its actual armor value is pretty light, 67 points, so it's 19 on the nose, 17 on the right and left side, and 14 on the rear, with very little wiggle room there. But it is fast. I mean, even a safe thrust, it moves 13 hexes, and at full speed, it moves 20. So it's got a pretty decent sort of speed there. It's a cool-looking fighter, to be honest. I quite like it. There's a simplicity to it. And, yeah, it was a long time, I believe, before a lot of these clan sort of fighter craft were given any kind of proper write-up. And this is from TRO 3055. So it was nice to start seeing some of the things that were terrorizing the skies of inner-sphere space for so long. Like, yeah, some of the more, you know, classic fighter craft. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, there you go. The Batu, that's one of them. It's probably the most iconic, I believe, the Batu fighter. You also had the Sulla and things like the Turk and Visigoth. But yeah, a lot of these clan fighters. If I the Saboteur as well. Yeah, a lot of these I don't think were ever really given a proper write-up for a long time until this later TRO would magic itself into existence and cover a lot of these frontline clan fights, because a lot of the clan stuff really had been kind of heavily focused on the mechs, the Omni-mechs. Everything about that was about clan stuff was mainly Omni-mechs, kind of followed by Elementals because they were new and shiny, and then, yeah, clan tanks, which are a thing, never really got much of a look in until a bit later on in the writing, and the same with the aerospace fighters. Like, a couple of them had been shown and detailed, but there wasn't any kind of serious write-ups about, you know, the number of fighters, which is weird given that, you know, clans like Snow Raven have a very narrow focus, less on their ground forces and more on their space forces, because, you know, the logic of, if we beat them in space, we don't have to worry about them on the ground. So Snow Raven were a very Aerotech-focused faction, and there wasn't really a lot to write about for their aerospace forces for a long time. So yeah, it was cool to see things like the Bashkir and that finally make an appearance. And I'd like the little note here as well, the idea of the fighter is the notable in this one. That there's this one fighter that somehow has jumped around all these different clans, and it's been in all these different battles, and it's still going. That's a cool little thing, that. The clans affording certain machines. It borders on the Warhammer 40k thing of, like, the machine spirit, you know, like, that the vehicle itself has a kind of soul. And that's kind of what's being hinted at here with this Bashkir 971/J22 Abtaker. So that's a cool thing. I've rambled on enough. I'll leave you there. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.